Welcome to the CT Educator podcast. I am your host, Karina Hogan. I am a registered CT technologist with 20 years of experience and knowledge. I help new CT technologists level up their CT training so that you can become a successful technologist. I'm also a mom and committed to sharing my knowledge and expertise to help you build your confidence, know the CT basics so that you can deliver quality patient care. So let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back, technologists. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. So hope you guys are having an amazing week. Oh boy, I have been tied up with doctor's appointments with my children and just knee deep into Halloween and just preparing myself not only for the continuing the winter arc. Holidays are coming up, so I'm doing Christmas shopping already. Yes, I know it's only October, but I need to get ahead of this because I am not going to wait till the last minute at all. So if you caught my previous episode, I had started talking about me participating in something called the Winter Arc. And it's a journey that I am documenting on what I'm working on. There are a couple goals that I'm working on. I'm only going to share two of them. Because I can't give you guys all the good details. You have to watch my Instagram stories for that. So one of the goals that I am working on is my health and fitness. So I am working on putting more muscle on my body and getting down to 145 pounds. When I started my journey, I was 168. So now I'm down to 156. And I can leg press about 270 pounds now. So that's quite an accomplishment for me, considering I'm 5'4" and 156 pounds. So yes, I can leg press more than my body weight, which is fantastic. As far as deadlifting, I can actually deadlift more than my body weight. So I think it's close to like 170. I was a little lax the other day because I didn't get enough sleep. So it kind of went down to like 140 or something like that. So I'm excited about it because it's one of those things that's going to test me not only emotionally, but mentally. And one of the pieces that I'm also working on is a lot of mental health and inner work. I have done a lot of inner work because I went through a very difficult divorce in 2019. I have special needs children, and all those things are just a lot of things that will give you shitty thoughts, and it creates depression, and just you can spiral and just be in this survival mode that you don't need to be in, right? So make sure you check out my Instagram stories because I will be documenting my journey as far as that. So I'll be posting content daily on my progress for that. So good stuff. And I know that I had mentioned, my coaching program. I'm going to mention my coaching program every single episode until you guys come and join my program. It's an awesome 6-month program where I get you to be the best CT tech ever, where we can create advancement opportunities for you, whether you want to be in management, you want to educate people, you want to go into clinical apps. There are so many possibilities where you get to elevate your skills with me. I break down everything for you. Usually my program is tailored for technologists that have been at least in the business 2 to 5 years and really want to take the next step. Okay. I also have a lower program for technologists with 0 to a couple of years of experience that really want to hone in on the basics and really learn how to operate and function on their own on that CT floor. Make sure that you guys check out the show notes. If you are interested in my coaching and mentorship program, there's an application link. Apply, and let's have a conversation about it. Also, my other program, there is a link also in the show notes. So make sure you guys get in that program as well. So in today's episode, now that we're talking about coaching and my programs, this episode is very related to that. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about transitioning to CT, what X-ray techs need to know. This is a very important episode because we're starting to see a lot of X-ray techs that are cross-training from X-ray to CT because of the high demand and the high need. Okay. And a lot of them are just interested in it. So we're seeing a lot of, multi-modality techs probably in some facilities, and that is becoming a very high demand option when it comes to making sure that those positions are filled in CT. Because right now there's a high demand and there's a lot of vacancies, a lot of jobs out there, right? So the transition, of course, we know it's an existing move up. It can be very scary. It can be very overwhelming because CT is very complex. And it challenges you to think outside the box because not every patient is ideal. Now, I'm not saying that X-ray doesn't challenge you, because it does, but CT is a little bit more in depth because we have to take on a lot of more responsibility when it comes to contrast exams and when it comes to IV access and things like that. Now, one thing I am going to say is the CT workflow is much different than X-ray. Much, much different. Okay. Where a lot of patients almost all the patients have to be moved onto the table. None of the patients we never go to the patients, excuse me. All the patients have to come to us. Where in X-ray, we do something portably, we can just go straight to the patient. In this case, in CT, they all have to come down to us. Even ICU, vented, a hot mess, they all have to come to us. Okay. We interact with the patients just a little bit more because we have to explain contrast. We have to explain the effects of contrast. We have to explain why they're drinking oral contrast, why they're doing the exam, which are some of the same principles of X-ray, but we have to go more in depth because patients don't exactly understand what IV contrast is going to do. Okay. So, and we also do a very high capacity of exams, like a large capacity we do every day on our shift. And there's a lot of advanced exams that we do, like biopsies, cardiac exams, lung screening, ion protocols where it's, related to bronchoscopy, colonography exams, things like that. So it's a lot of moving parts in CT, and there's a lot of things that are advanced that you have to know as you gain experience. Now, here are some things to expect while you're training. And these are some of the things that I took on when I was learning. And these are some of the principles that I adopted that I'm going to share with you. So number one, don't expect to learn everything at once. Okay. Some exams are complicated. They're very complex and it will take time to learn. Okay. So, and it takes time to execute them properly. So don't expect to learn everything right away. Now, if you pick up quick, that's great, but you have to make sure you execute those exams correctly. The next thing that I'm going to share with you is learn the basics exams first. And I know I had talked about this on my previous episode. So what I'm talking about is perfect your CT of the heads without contrast, perfect your PE chest, and perfect your abdomen and pelvises either with contrast or without contrast. Make sure that you just nail those exams because those are your meat and potatoes when it comes to scanning. That is your core group of exams that you do on a daily basis because they are the most ordered exams on a daily basis, right? Next thing is make sure you write protocols, reformatting, steps, how much contrast in a notebook. I stress this so much on every podcast episode. Make sure you guys carry a notebook. If you're brand new, don't be ashamed because your brain can't remember all that. You cannot sit there and remember, oh, I need to do this. There's so many exams and protocols that we have. You can't remember them all. So make sure you write things down. This is so important. And this is one principle that I've adopted. When I go to a new hospital, if I get a new job, you best believe I have a small notebook because some of these facilities do things differently than what I have done at other hospitals. So I have to write it down so I remember until I get, I do this exam more than once, then I don't need the notebook. Okay. It's super important because you can't contain all that information in your brain. It's physically impossible and you cannot do it. Okay. Another principle that I'm going to tell you, and I had to master this, and I say this on every podcast episode. I even say these in my Instagram posts and stories. Learn how to center the patients properly. This is so crucial when it comes to dose calculations and making sure you get the best quality exam. Okay. You don't want to overexpose the patients and you want to stay within the proper dose limitations. That's why centering is super important, because you need to make sure that the system is calculating those doses correctly. Unless you want the freaking physicist after your ass, hey, be my guest. Okay. Another thing, and I was told this by a seasoned technologist, I learned a lot from him, and he was a great mentor and a great teacher. Do not become a button pusher. Okay. Please don't. I know you're going to encounter technologists that probably have not had proper training and they just say, push this button, push that button. And then you ask why and they go, oh, well, that's the way we've always done it. That's just what you do. It's because they haven't taken the time or the desire to learn how to know the why behind you pressing a bunch of buttons. Okay. CT is not a bunch of buttons. We have to, when we press something, we have to know exactly why we're doing the next step. And that is why I want you to ask questions on why certain exams are done that way. And you'll get the answer, well, that's how we always done it. That answer is not fucking good enough for me. Okay. If you're a seasoned technologist, and I'm calling you guys out on this episode, so probably going to trigger some of you, you need to make sure that you know the why behind exams. Okay. If you don't, come get coached by me, come get mentored, and I'll tell you. Okay. Because that is what I do. And that's what I'm passionate about. So make sure that you know the why behind it. And a lot of times that answer is not acceptable where we say, oh, we've always done it. It's because they haven't had proper training either. And they need to go back and have somebody educate and mentor them and coach them. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to say, and this is super important because I know I had voiced this when I was a beginner. If you feel that you need more time to train, please speak up and say that. I know for me, they were like, oh, we're going to give you 8 weeks to train it. Well, that's not enough for me because I don't know the ins and outs of CT. I need more time. And that is okay to request that. Speak up and say that that is not enough because you need to get comfortable. You want to do the job properly. You want to be able to scan on your own, and you want to be able to ask minimal questions when you're out there taking care of patients by yourself. So make sure that you speak up if they give you 6 weeks of training. That's not enough for a beginner. You're not going to know everything. You may hone in on the basics, but you need the core stuff. And the core things is what I teach in my coaching and mentorship program is you need all the core basics, not just a few things. You need all of it. And that's why in my 6-month container, I give you all those pieces. So I hope this episode was helpful. These are some of the things that I adopted as a new technologist that have helped me, and I've grown in my career where I have done many things where I have sat on the CT registry board to create questions for the exam and just advance my career where I can teach you guys my knowledge and my experience so you can be better technologists. So I hope this episode was helpful. Make sure you guys check out the show notes. Come get coached by me. So come join my programs. And as always, make sure you check out my Instagram stories about my journey on the winter arc and all the CT things. So hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will chat with you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you would like to share your CT experience, have an interesting story to share, or need help in your CT training, please email me your questions at contact@thecteducator.com. Follow along on Instagram at the CT Educator, also on Facebook at the CT Educator. Don't forget to like, share, leave a 5-star review, as this will help support the show and it'll reach all of you that need guidance. Thank you for listening and happy scanning.